So this set says the following table denotes the departure time and arrival time of 12 flights originating and ending between 4 different cities, M, N, O, and P, located in 4 different time zones. The flights take the same route every day between a pair of cities, and each flight's travel speed is also the same. Each flight takes the same time to travel back and forth between a pair of cities. So just read these informations very carefully. Each flight takes the same time while going and while coming, and all these are of the same day. No flight takes more than 24 hours to reach a city when it takes off from a city. That is, timing of departure and arrival of every flight in the table given is of the same day. The time given in the table is the local standard time. That means it is the time of that particular city where you are talking about. Also, there is no daylight or any type of time saving applicable to any city. If the local time of any city X is ahead of the local time of any city Y, that means city X is situated to the east of Y. So if a city is ahead of another city, it is to the east of that city. Ahead means east. Let's just keep that in mind. Ahead means east. Now, how do we deal with these kind of questions? Here is the chart given to you. He says a flight named XYDD, for example, OP56 is XYDD, departs from city X, that means this flight departs from O, arrives at city Y, that means it arrives at 5. For example, MN34 is a flight which departs from M and arrives at city N. What is the usage of this 56? There is no usage of this. It is just the serial number, you can say, of that flight. So what I have done, I have written this all on this single page. And how do we figure it out? Now let's talk about it. See, there is a concept of this local time over there. I mean, when there is different time zone. Let us say a city A, just to make you understand, there is a city A, there is a city B. City B is 1 hour ahead of city A. City B is 1 hour ahead of city A. 1 hour ahead means whatever time is there in city A, the time in city B would always be 1 hour more than that. Okay. Let's say a flight starts from city A at 7 o'clock and it reaches B in, let's say, 4 hours. So can I say it would reach B in at 11 o'clock? But the time at B would not be shown as 11 because they are 1 hour ahead. So the time shown over there would be 12. Though the time duration is just 4 hours, but it would be showing us 5 hours because it looks like that it is taking 5 hours because city B's time is 1 hour ahead. But at the same time, let us say a flight starts from city B at, let's say, 3 p.m. So while going back, it should again take 4 hours. It should reach here at 7 p.m. But the time at city A would be shown as 6. The reason is that city A is 1 hour behind city B. 7 would be the time in the clock of a person who is from B. The way 11 was the time in the clock of a person who was from A. So person from A had a time 11 in his clock, but the time at B was 12. A person from city B had a time of 7 in his clock, but the time at A would be 6. Okay. Now, when we are talking about these things, ultimately the question will not be showing this to you. The question will not be showing this to you. Question would show these two things. That a flight that starts from here at 7 reaches there at 12. A flight that starts from there at 3 reaches here at 6. So it looks like this flight has taken 5 hours. And it looks like this flight has taken only 3 hours. But we all know how much time has it taken. And how do we get to know about that? There is a simple logic of that. Just add 5 and 3 and divide by 2. So we can easily get what is the time taken by a flight to go from A to B or B to A. So their time taken according to these clocks, just find them out, divide by 2, it gives you this. Why am I doing this? Let me just explain this to you as well. Let us say the time taken by a flight is X and the time at B is, let us say, T hours ahead. So time taken is X and the time at B is T hours ahead. So X plus T should be 5. Similarly, while coming back, the time taken is X and if B was T hours ahead of A, so A would be T hours behind A. So X minus T should be 3 hours. If X plus T is 5, X minus T is 3, just add them. T and T would cancel out. 2X is 5 plus 3. And if 2X is 5 plus 3, what is X? X is equal to 4 hours. That is the logic at which we would be working. Now, if 4 hours is the time taken by the flight, but the time shown is 5 hours, that clearly tells me that plus 1 hour is because B is 1 hour ahead of B. I am assuming you have understood the concept. If not, you can watch this again and let's start solving this set now. Let's talk about this. OP. A flight that goes from O to P, it starts at 8:30 and it reaches there at 1:30. That means it takes 5 hours. Look at the flight from P to O. So where is the flight from P to O? Here is the flight from P to O. The flight that goes from P to O, it starts from P at 6:20, reaches there at 9:20, that is in 3 hours. It is exactly the same example that we just took by chance. So we can say that when a flight goes from O to P, it takes 5 hours, but while coming back from P to O, it takes 3 hours. 5 plus 3 by 2, we can say 4 hours is their journey time, and when it shows 5, that means city P is 1 hour ahead of city O. City P is 1 hour ahead of city O. It is just like that example of A and B. I hope this is clear. Now let's talk about M and P. So a flight that goes from M to P, it takes a total of 12 hours, 7:40 a.m. to 7:40 p.m. But when a flight goes from P to M, where is the flight from P to M? So flight from P to M is here. It starts at 4:20 and reaches there at 10:20, which is in 6 hours. So it comes back in 6 hours. So 12 plus 6 divided by 2, that is equal to 9 hours is the travel time between them. But M to P is 12. That means P is 3 hours ahead of M. This means P is 3 hours ahead of M. This also we have got. Now, because we have already got two relations between P and O, P and M, let's find out the third relation as well between P and the third city, N. So look at this now, N to P. A flight that is going from N to P, how much time is it taking? 7:10 to 8:40, it is taking 1.5 hour. But while coming back, how much time is it taking P to N? It is taking 10 to 2:30, that is 4.5 hours. 1.5 plus 4.5 divided by 2, it is 3. So 3 hours is the journey time between them. But it shows 1.5 here. That means P is 1.5 hours behind N. So I can say P is N minus 1.5. P is N minus 1.5. I hope it is clear. Now I don't need any other data for these things, because now I got a relation between O, P, M and N. There are only 4 cities. I know who is ahead of which city by how much, behind which city by how much. That all we have got now easily. So just to find that out as well, that who is to the east of which one. So it was clearly given, a city which is ahead is to the east. A city which is ahead to the east. So I see here that only N is ahead of P. All others are behind P, right? Because O plus 1 is P. So I can say P is ahead of O. M plus 3 is P. So P is ahead of M. But N minus 1.5 is P. So N is behind P. So it is like N is here and P is here, and N is 1.5 hours ahead of P. Therefore, it would be to the east of P. It would be to the east of P. Also, P is 1 hour ahead of O. So that means P would be to the east of O. Ye bhi again east hoga because it is 1 hour ahead. And P is M plus 3. So that means P is also 3 hours ahead of M. So can I say M would be somewhere here such that it is 3 hours ahead, which automatically means O is 2 hours ahead of M and therefore he is to the east of M. So ultimately I get to know that M, O, P and N in this order are from the west to east. And O is 2 hours ahead of M, P is 1 hour ahead of O, and N is 1.5 hours ahead of P. That which we get the complete relation. Now all other things can be calculated very easily. For example, let us say I ask you what is the journey time between M and N. How do you calculate that? Look at this. From M to N, it shows 6:15 to 10:45. 6:15 to 10:45 is 16.5 hours. Right, everyone? It is 16.5 hours. M to N is 16.5 hours. And I also see that n is actually 4.5 hours ahead of m. Just look at this. 2 plus 1 plus 1.5. So n is 4.5 hours ahead of n. So actually the journey time must be 12 hours. The journey time must be 12 hours. You can also calculate it by the other method that I discussed before, that what is the time taken from n to m? The time taken from n to m is 7.5 hours. So I can also do 16.5 plus 7.5 divided by 2. That also will give me 12. Or now, because we have this complete structure, we can use that as well. So either of the ways, now we can get all the journey times. We can get the who is to the east of whom and how much ahead is a city from the other city. Once we have got all the data, of course, then we can start answering the questions. Here is the first one. Question is, which city is to the east of the remaining three cities? So which city is to the east of the remaining three cities? We can clearly see n is to the east of remaining three cities. So my answer for this question is option D, that is n. What is the time zone difference between cities M and P? So what is the time zone difference between them? I see the time zone difference between them is 3 hours. So my answer is 3. What I have done, that this was 2 hours ahead, so I have written plus 2. P was another 1 hour ahead from O, so I have written all of them in terms of M only. So P is another 1 hour ahead, that means 3 hours ahead. N is another 1.5 hours ahead, 4.5 hours. So difference between M and P is 3 hours. So that is the answer for that. If someone wants to take a round trip flight from X to Y, Y to X between a pair of cities, what will be the minimum time of the journey? Okay, let's find out the minimum time of the journey. Journey includes flight duration with duration spent in transit. So let's talk about it. So when I talk about this flight number OP, okay, O to P. So if a person goes from O to P, it will take 5 hours, and then from P to O, it will take another 3 hours. 5 plus 3 makes it 8 hours, right? But the point is, the flight goes at 1:30, reaches there, it waits till 6:20 and comes back at 9:20. So what you can do in these questions, a flight that starts from O to P starts at 8:30, reaches at P at 1:30, starts from there at 6:20 and reaches back to O at 9:20. Now both these times become of O. 8:30 and 9:20 both are of O. So a flight from O to P and P to O will take a total journey time of 8:30 to 9:30, which is 12 hours and 50 minutes. It is 12 hours and 50 minutes. We have to find the minimum. So let's check all of them. Now let's talk about MP. If a flight goes from M to P, it starts at 7:45, reaches there at 7:45 p.m. and then from P it starts at 4:20. So the problem is, the flight that goes from M to P, you cannot take a flight back from P to M, because the starting time of P to M is before the arrival time from M to P. Flight reaches at P at 7:45 and flight leaves from there at 4:20. So how can you catch the flight? So this anyways is not possible. Forget about it. Third, M to N. 6:15 to 10:45, right? And then from N to M, the flight again starts at 4 p.m. So here also it is not possible to take a flight and do a round trip journey. Forget about this as well. Let's talk about O to N. It starts at 1:20, reaches there at 10:50, and N to O, it starts at 9:15, reaches there at 1:45. So it is not possible to go from O to N and O to N to O, but it is also not possible from N to O and O to N. Because if a flight goes from N to O, it reaches there at 1:45, but it leaves from there at 1:20. That means the departure time is before the arrival time. So therefore, a person cannot do a round journey as well. Let's talk about N2P. 7:10 p.m. to 8:40 p.m. and P2N is 10 a.m. to 2:30. So we can do one thing. A person can go from P to N and N to P. P to N and N to P. So if I go from P to N, it takes me how much time? 10 a.m. to 2:30. And then he can take this flight from N at 7:10, reaches there at 8:40. So as I said before, I just look at these two. A flight that starts at 10 a.m. reaches at 8:40. So it takes a total of 10 hours and 40 minutes. So two of the flights I have written. Three of them we have already rejected. Which one is left? I think OM is left. OM. So let's look at the OM as well. It starts at 6:40, reaches there at 9:40, and then M2O. It starts at 12:30, reaches there at 7:30. So the time taken is 6:40 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. 6:40 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. and that IC is taking a total time of how much? Let's calculate that. 6:40 to 7:30 is approximately 12 hours and 50 minutes again. So I see the minimum time taken is in the second case, which is 6:40 minutes. So 6:40 minutes is the right answer. That's a pretty long question, right? It's a pretty long question. Should not have been attempted, in my opinion, by anyone. I mean, the other four questions probably can take as much time as this question alone can take. So should have been skipped. Let's move on. Question number 9. What is the maximum flight duration for a journey between a pair of cities? So if you calculate all of them, these are the time durations between any two cities, and the maximum is between M and N, which is 12 hours. So my answer for this question is none of these. And lastly, if it is 11:55 p.m. on a Tuesday in city N, what is the time in city O? So if in city N the time is 11:55, what is the time here? Of course, I see there is a difference of 2.5 hours here. O is 2.5 hours behind. So just subtract 2.5 hours from it. So 2 hours subtracted is 9:55. Another half hour subtracted is 9:25. So 9:25 p.m. of Tuesday would be the right answer for question number